Welcome to a gentle journey through the sleeping brain. Over the next few hours, we'll drift together through 100 quiet discoveries about what happens inside your mind as you rest. There's no need to remember everything, no need to stay alert. Just listen, breathe, and let these words carry you softly towards sleep. Tonight, we begin where sleep itself begins, in the preparation. In those precious moments when your body and brain conspire together to guide you from the bright world of waking into the restorative darkness of night. Deep within your brain, no larger than a grain of rice, lies a remarkable structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. It rests quietly in a region known as the hypothalamus, nestled just above where your optic nerves cross paths. This tiny cluster of cells, this master clock, has been keeping time for you since before you were born. It synchronizes your entire sleep-wake cycle to the ancient rhythm of light and darkness. When morning sunlight touches your eyes, signals travel along those optic pathways, resetting this clock to the new day. When darkness falls, the clock knows. It remembers the pattern generation after generation, the same rhythm that guided your ancestors beneath countless moons. As evening deepens and shadows lengthen, another small structure awakens to its nightly task. The pineal gland, shaped like a tiny pine cone and positioned deep in the center of your brain, begins releasing a gentle hormone called melatonin. This chemical messenger flows through your bloodstream like a lullaby made molecular. Melatonin whispers to your body, "It's time." Your core temperature begins to drop, degree by quiet degree. The alertness centers in your brain. Those regions that kept you sharp and focused all day begin to quiet. Melatonin doesn't force sleep. It simply opens the door and invites you through. But melatonin isn't working alone. Throughout your waking hours, from a moment you first opened your eyes this morning until now, a different substance has been accumulating. Adenosine, building molecule by molecule, like sand filling an hourglass. Every thought you've had, every task completed, every conversation held, adenosine has been quietly gathering in your brain. This buildup creates what scientists call sleep pressure. Imagine a gentle weight, growing heavier through the day, pressing softly but insistently toward rest. When you finally lie down, when you finally stop resisting, adenosine has done its work. Sleep pressure peaks and rest begins. In these drowsy moments, your brain's electrical patterns begin to shift. If someone were measuring your brain waves right now, they would see the transition, the change from the beta waves of active thinking to something slower, something softer. Alpha waves. These are the rhythms of relaxation, the frequency of eyes closed and mind drifting. Your brain reduces sensory input from the outer world, turning the volume down on sounds, on sensations, on the need to process and respond. Instead, inner imagery begins to bloom. Perhaps you see colors behind your eyelids, or fleeting pictures that make no particular sense. This is alpha, the threshold, the beginning of your journey inward. And then comes stage one, the first stage of NREM sleep. NREM meaning non-rapid eye movement. Stage one is so brief, so delicate, that you might not even realize you crossed it. It's a gateway, barely a minute or two long, when wakefulness releases you and sleep reaches out its hand. Your brain activity continues to slow. Your muscles relax. You might experience a sudden jerk, a hypnic jolt, as if you're falling. This is normal. This is your motor system letting go of the day. Stage 1 is neither fully awake nor fully asleep. It's the in-between place, the doorway, the first gentle step into the night. But how does this happen? How does your brain know to shut down its waking systems and embrace rest? The answer lies in an elegant coordination between ancient regions deep in your brain. The brainstem, that primitive structure connecting your brain to your spinal cord, works together with the hypothalamus to orchestrate this transition. They coordinate the shutdown of wake-promoting systems, those networks of neurons that kept you conscious and alert. It's not a sudden switch, but rather a dimming, a gradual release of the arousal signals that sustained your waking hours. Within the hypothalamus itself lives a small but powerful sleep switch, the ventrolateral preoptic nucleus, or VLPO for short. When the time is right, when melatonin is flowing and adenosine has built up sufficiently, the VLPO activates. It releases a neurotransmitter called GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, a chemical that silences. GABA flows to the arousal centers of your brain, telling them to quiet down, to rest, to stop their vigilant firing. This is active sleep promotion. Your brain doesn't just stop being awake. It actively creates sleep, protecting it, nurturing it, ensuring that rest can take hold. As you slip deeper into these early stages of sleep, another important shift occurs in your body's chemistry. Cortisol, that stress hormone that helped you face the challenges of your day, begins to drop. It falls to its lowest levels in these early hours of sleep, creating a calm, growth-friendly environment in your brain. Without cortisol's activating presence, your brain can focus on repair, on consolidation, on the quiet work of restoration that happens only in sleep. This drop in cortisol is part of your body's natural rhythm, the same pattern that repeats night after night, allowing your brain to heal and strengthen. Sleep architecture is not the same for everyone, and it changes dramatically across our lifespan. Consider a newborn baby, just hours or days old, drifting into sleep in their parents' arms. Unlike adults who must journey through these stages of NREM first, babies enter REM sleep within minutes. REM, rapid eye movement sleep, the stage associated with dreaming and intense brain activity. Infants spend up to half their sleep time in REM, their brains incredibly active even as their tiny bodies rest. This shows us something profound, that the wiring for sleep begins at birth, perhaps even before. The sleeping brain is not learned. It is fundamental to being human. And as we grow, as we change, our sleep changes too. When puberty arrives, hormones reshape more than just our bodies. They reshape our sleep rhythms. Melatonin timing shifts later, sometimes by hours. This is why teenagers naturally want to stay up late and sleep in late. It's not rebellion or laziness, it's biology. The adolescent brain's clock temporarily resets, delaying the onset of sleepiness until later in the evening and extending the desire for sleep into the morning hours. This shift is real, measurable, and temporary. Eventually, as young adulthood arrives, the clock shifts back, but for those teenage years, late nights and late mornings are written into the very structure of the developing brain. So here we rest. At the end of our first chapter, having journeyed through the brain's preparation for sleep. We visited the master clock that tracks the light and darkness, the glands that release melatonin and lower our defenses against rest, the buildup of adenosine creating pressure too sweet to resist. We've witnessed alpha waves in stage 1, the brainstem's coordination and the VLPO's gentle silencing. We've seen cortisol fall away, babies enter REM directly, and teenagers staying up late not by choice but by design. Sleep is beginning. Your brain has prepared the way. And now, we simply allow it to happen. Let your breathing slow, let your thoughts drift, and when you're ready, we'll continue together into the deeper stages of the night. And so the night unfolds, not as a single descent into darkness, but as a carefully choreographed dance. Your brain doesn't simply turn off and wait for morning. Instead, it moves through a beautiful architecture, a repeating pattern that has evolved over millions of years to restore, to heal, to prepare you for the day ahead. Throughout the night, your brain will cycle through different types of sleep in a rhythm as natural as breathing. In REM sleep, non-rapid eye movement, and REM sleep, rapid eye movement, take turns one following the other in roughly 90-minute loops. 90 minutes, about the length of a film, or a long walk, or a deep conversation. This is the fundamental rhythm of your sleeping brain. The first cycle begins soon after you drift off, and then another cycle starts, and another, repeating 4 to 6 times before dawn. Each cycle is slightly different from the last, shifting its emphasis, changing its proportions, but always following the same essential pattern. NREM, then REM. NREM, then REM. Over and over through the darkness, your brain rebuilds itself. Let's travel deeper into NREM sleep now, into its internal structure. NREM itself is not a single state, but a journey through 3 distinct stages. You've already experienced stage 1, that brief, delicate gateway we explored in our first chapter. From there, you descend into stage 2, then deeper still into stage 3. Think of it as a staircase leading down into a quiet basement, each step taking you further from the noise and light of the waking world. Stage 1 is the top step, barely different from wakefulness. Stage 2 is where sleep truly establishes itself. And stage 3 is the deepest floor, the foundation, where the most profound restoration occurs. Stage 2 in REM is remarkable for how ordinary it seems, and yet it fills nearly half of your entire night's sleep. More time than any other stage. More time than deep sleep. More time than REM. If sleep were a country, stage 2 would be its largest territory. You'll spend hours here tonight, in this quiet, stable state. Your breathing steadies. Your heart rate becomes regular and calm. Your body temperature continues to drop. You are definitively asleep now. Not at the threshold anymore, but settled in, committed to the night. Stage 2 is the main residence of sleep, the place where your brain spends most of its resting hours, doing patient, essential work. And in stage 2, something extraordinary appears in your brain's electrical activity. Sleep spindles. These are brief bursts of brain waves, spinning rapidly at 12 to 16 cycles per second, lasting just a second or two before vanishing. They appear suddenly on the brain wave, recording like little tornadoes of neural activity, hence their name. But these spindles are not random. They serve a purpose. Sleep spindles help protect your sleep from the outside world. When a sound occurs, a car passing, a door closing, a branch tapping the window, sleep spindles increase in response. They actively work to keep you asleep, to maintain the boundary between the sleeping brain and the potentially disturbing environment. The more sleep spindles you produce, the more likely you are to sleep through noise and disruption. Your brain is guarding your rest. Along with sleep spindles, stage 2 brings another distinctive pattern called K-complexes. These are large, sharp waveforms, sudden deflections in the brain's electrical activity that look like steep mountains on the recording. K-complexes appear spontaneously, and they also appear in response to unexpected stimuli. A sound, a touch, anything that might threaten to wake you, and a K-complex fires. These aren't just passive responses. K-complexes actively suppress arousal. They work to preserve your sleep, to keep you in this restful state despite potential disturbances. Together with sleep spindles, they form a protective shield around your sleeping mind, allowing the deeper work of the night to continue undisturbed. And then you descend further, into stage 3, into slow wave sleep, into the deepest form of rest your brain can achieve. Stage 3 is defined by delta waves, the slowest brain rhythms measurable in sleep, rolling through your cortex at less than 4 cycles per second. If you could hear delta waves, they would sound like a slow, deep drumbeat, a rhythm so slow it seems to breathe with the earth itself. During stage 3, your brain operates almost as a single synchronized unit, billions of neurons firing together in this slow, powerful rhythm. This is the sleep that feels like oblivion, the sleep from which it's hardest awake. If someone shakes you awake from stage 3, you'll feel disoriented, confused, thick-headed. This is the sleep your body craves after a hard day. This is where the deepest restoration happens. In this deep, slow wave sleep, your body releases a surge of growth hormone. Growth hormone, that powerful substance that does exactly what its name suggests, peaks during these deepest stages of sleep. In children, it fuels physical growth, building bone and muscle. In adults, it continues its essential work, but now focused on repair and maintenance. Growth hormone helps fuel neural repair, fixing the small damages that accumulate during waking hours, strengthening connections, clearing away cellular debris. Your brain uses this time, these hours of deep delta wave sleep, to physically rebuild itself. Without adequate slow wave sleep, this repair is incomplete. This is one reason why poor sleep leads to cognitive decline over time. The maintenance gets delayed, the repairs go undone. But the brain does more than repair during deep sleep. It also consolidates, it replays, it learns. Within your hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure critical for memory formation, special events occur during slow wave sleep. Sharp wave ripples. These are brief, intense bursts of neural activity where the hippocampus replays experiences from your day at accelerated speeds. Imagine a video played at 10 or 20 times normal speed. That's what's happening with your memories. An experience that took minutes during the day might be replayed in just seconds during sleep. The hippocampus sends these accelerated replays to the cortex, your brain's outer layer. helping to transfer memories from short-term storage into long-term knowledge. This is how learning becomes permanent. This is how today becomes part of your lasting self. And it happens here in the deep, slow wave sleep of stage 3, while you rest completely unaware. After spending time in these deep NREM stages, your brain begins to shift. The cycle isn't complete yet. The 90 minutes aren't over. Something different is coming. REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. This state follows NREM like dawn follows the deepest part of night. In your first sleep cycle, REM might last only a few minutes, a brief visit before the cycle repeats. But as the night progresses, as you move through your second, third, fourth cycles, REM sleep grows longer. Those later cycles might contain 20, 30, even 40 minutes of REM. This is why dreams are often most vivid and memorable just before waking. You're spending more time in REM, giving your dreaming brain more opportunity to weave its strange and meaningful stories. If you could measure your entire night's sleep and calculate the percentages, you'd find that adults spend about 20 to 25% of their sleep time in REM. 1/4 of the night. That might not sound like much compared to the other stages, but it represents roughly 90 minutes to 2 hours of REM sleep each night. 90 minutes to 2 hours of your brain in a state almost as active as waking. Yet your body remains still, paralyzed except for the rapid movements of your eyes beneath closed lids. 20 to 25% of sleep is REM. Less than NREM, but absolutely essential. Without it, memory suffers, emotional regulation falters, creativity diminishes. REM sleep is not optional. It's woven into the very architecture of healthy sleep. So here we rest at the close of our second chapter, having explored the structure of the night. We've witnessed the 90-minute cycles that repeat until dawn. The 3 stages of NREM progressing from light to deep. Stage 2 with its protective spindles and K-complexes filling half the night. We've descended into stage 3's delta waves and felt the surge of growth hormone repairing our neural architecture. We've watched the hippocampus replay our learning at impossible speeds, transferring experience in a lasting memory. And we've glimpsed REM sleep growing longer as the night ages, claiming its essential 25% of our time in slumber. The architecture is elegant. The architecture is ancient. The architecture holds you now, moving through its perfect pattern, rebuilding you for tomorrow. Let the cycles continue. Let the stages deepen and rise, and we'll journey onward together, discovering what happens in each unique realm of sleep. We descend now into the quietest hours, into the work that happens when consciousness fades completely away. Deep sleep is not emptiness. It is not absence. It is a time of profound activity, though you experience none of it. Your brain, released from the demands of perception and action, turns inward to tend to itself, to clean, to repair, to optimize the intricate network that makes you who you are. During sleep, your brain consumes slightly less energy than it does during waking hours. Slightly less, but not dramatically so. The sleeping brain is not shut down. It has merely shifted its priorities. Instead of processing the external world, instead of moving your body and making decisions and tracking 1,000 details, your brain redirects that energy toward maintenance. Think of a city that dims its lights at night, not to save power, but to redirect electricity toward essential infrastructure repairs. Roads get repaved, water lines get inspected, systems get updated. That's your sleeping brain, using its resources differently, focusing on the internal work that cannot happen while you're awake and active. And the most remarkable maintenance system of all awakens during sleep: the glymphatic system. This is a relatively recent discovery in neuroscience, fully understood only in the last couple of decades, though it has been operating inside your brain since birth. The glymphatic system is your brain's waste clearance network. It activates primarily during sleep. Throughout the day, as your neurons fire and consume energy and do their work, they produce waste products, metabolic byproducts, toxic proteins. One of the most concerning is beta amyloid, a sticky protein fragment that, if allowed to accumulate, can clump together and interfere with brain function. During waking hours, this waste builds up slowly, inevitably. But when you sleep, when you finally surrender to rest, the glymphatic system turns on and begins flushing these toxins away. The mechanism is elegant. Cerebrospinal fluid, that clear liquid that bathes your brain and spinal cord, begins to pulse through your brain tissue in waves during sleep. These pulses drive waste clearance with remarkable efficiency, twice as efficient as during wakefulness, twice as effective at removing the dangerous accumulations that threaten your neurons. The cerebrospinal fluid flows along pathways surrounding blood vessels, penetrating deep into brain tissue, collecting waste products and carrying them away to be filtered and disposed of. This happens every night. Every time you sleep deeply, your brain receives this essential cleaning service. It's not optional. It's not a luxury. It's as necessary as breathing. For the glymphatic system to work effectively, something unusual must happen in your brain's physical structure. During deep sleep, the spaces between your brain cells, the tiny gaps through which fluid must flow, actually expand. Your neurons and the supporting cells around them shrink slightly, pulling back, creating more room. These expanded spaces allow the cerebrospinal fluid to penetrate more deeply, to reach further, to accomplish more thorough metabolic cleaning. It's as if your brain inflates slightly, opening up channels that remain narrower during waking hours. This expansion is temporary, reversible, and absolutely critical. Without this nightly opening of space, waste removal becomes incomplete. And what happens if you don't sleep enough? What happens when sleep is chronically disrupted, shortened, or poor in quality? The consequences are measurable and concerning. Chronic sleep loss raises amyloid beta levels in the brain. That toxic protein we mentioned, the one linked to neurodegeneration, begins to accumulate. Studies have shown that even a single night of sleep deprivation increases amyloid levels in healthy young adults. Now imagine years of insufficient sleep, decades perhaps. The waste that should be flushed away each night instead builds up gradually, creating deposits, forming plaques, setting the stage for cognitive decline. This is one reason why poor sleep across a lifetime is a significant risk factor for Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. The brain needs its nightly cleaning. Without it, damage accumulates. But deep sleep does more than remove waste. It also optimizes your neural networks through a process called synaptic downscaling. Throughout the day, as you learn and experience and interact with the world, your brain forms new connections between neurons. Synapses strengthen. Networks expand. This is wonderful. This is learning happening in real time. But if this process continued unchecked, your brain would become overconnected, inefficient, unable to distinguish signal from noise. During deep NREM sleep, your brain engages in selective weakening. Up to 80% of the newly formed connections from the previous day are deliberately weakened. 80%. That might sound wasteful, but it's actually sophisticated optimization. Think of it this way. Not every connection formed during the day is worth keeping. Not every fleeting thought or random association needs to be preserved. Your brain, during deep sleep, evaluates these new synapses and makes decisions. The strong connections, the ones that were activated repeatedly, the ones that seem meaningful and useful, those get preserved or even strengthened further. But the weak synapses, the ones that form by chance or represent trivial information, those get pruned away. This pruning saves enormous amounts of energy. Maintaining synapses is metabolically expensive, and your brain must be efficient. Downscaling also sharpens learning. By removing the noise, the meaningful signals become clearer. The memories that matter stand out more vividly against a cleaner background. This is why sleep after learning improves retention. It's not just consolidation, it's also intelligent deletion. Deep NREM sleep, these stages dominated by slow delta waves, supports more than just brain maintenance. The entire body benefits. Physical restoration occurs during these deep stages. Muscles repair, tissues grow, immune function balances itself. Your immune system communicates extensively with your brain during sleep, coordinating responses, calibrating sensitivity, preparing for the next day's challenges. Deep sleep is when inflammation gets regulated, when infection-fighting cells get mobilized properly, when your body's defenses organize themselves. This is why sick people sleep more. The body demands deep sleep to fight illness effectively. And this is why chronically sleep-deprived people get sick more often. Without adequate deep sleep, immune balance falters. Insomnia, that frustrating inability to fall asleep or stay asleep, does particular damage to deep sleep. People with chronic insomnia often experience reduced slow-wave sleep. They might sleep some, but the quality is poor. They don't spend enough time in stage 3, in that deep delta wave state where the most restorative processes occur. Over time, this deficit harms executive function, those higher-level cognitive abilities like planning, decision-making, impulse control, and working memory. The frontal lobes of the brain, which govern these executive functions, are especially dependent on quality sleep. When insomnia reduces slow-wave sleep night after night, month after month, these cognitive abilities gradually decline. Concentration becomes harder. Decisions feel more difficult. Mental flexibility decreases. The damage is often subtle at first, but it accumulates. And sadly, as we age, deep sleep naturally becomes more elusive. Older adults spend less time in stage 3 slow-wave sleep than younger people do. The amplitude of delta waves decreases. The brain simply doesn't generate that deep synchronized rhythm as powerfully as it once did. Part of this change relates to cortical thinning, the gradual loss of brain tissue that occurs with aging. As the cortex thins, its ability to produce strong, coordinated, slow waves diminishes. This reduction in deep sleep contributes to some of the cognitive changes we associate with normal aging. The mild forgetfulness, the slightly slower processing. It's not inevitable damage, but it is a real shift in sleep architecture. Protecting deep sleep as we age through good sleep habits, regular exercise, stress management becomes increasingly important. So here we rest at the end of our third chapter, having explored the hidden labor of deep sleep. We've witnessed the brain's slight reduction in energy use, redirected toward maintenance rather than perception. We've discovered the glymphatic system flushing away toxic waste, with cerebrospinal fluid pulsing through expanded spaces between cells, clearing beta amyloid before it can cause harm. We've understood the consequences of chronic sleep loss, the accumulation of waste, the increased risk of neurodegeneration. We've watched synaptic downscaling prune away up to 80% of weak connections, sharpening learning and saving energy. We've recognized deep REM support for physical restoration and immune balance. And we've acknowledged both insomnia's harm to executive function and aging's natural reduction in deep sleep as the cortex gradually thins. The cleaning continues. The optimization proceeds. Your brain is tending to itself right now, in this very moment, doing the quiet work that makes tomorrow possible. Rest deeply. Let the maintenance unfold, and we'll continue together into the realm of dreams and emotional processing. Sleep is not a pause in learning. It is where learning becomes permanent. Tonight, as you rest, your brain is quietly reviewing the day that has passed. Not consciously, not with effort or intention, but automatically, methodically, your sleeping brain replays patterns from the day to stabilize memories, to decide what's worth keeping and what can fade away. This is one of sleep's most profound gifts. The transformation of fleeting experience into lasting knowledge. The work of memory consolidation happens differently across the stages of sleep, with each stage contributing something unique to the process. During NREM sleep, those deep, slow-wave stages we've explored, your brain focuses on strengthening facts and practice skills. Declarative memories, we call them. The name of someone you met today. The directions to a new place. The sequence of steps in a recipe you're learning. These factual memories, these explicit pieces of knowledge, get reinforced during NREM sleep. And motor skills too. The piano scales you practiced, the tennis serve you're perfecting, the precise movements required for any physical task. NREM sleep takes these fresh, fragile memories and makes them stronger, more reliable, more resistant to forgetting. When you wake, these skills and facts feel more solid, more automatic, as if they've always been part of you. But REM sleep, that paradoxical state where your brain becomes nearly as active as waking, contributes something different to memory. REM sleep excels at linking distant ideas together, at finding connections between seemingly unrelated pieces of information. This is the realm of creativity and insight. During REM, Your brain makes associations that might never occur during logical, focused waking thought. It connects memories across different contexts, different times, different categories. This is why people sometimes wake with solutions to problems they couldn't solve the day before. The answer wasn't found through harder thinking. It was discovered through the associative freedom of REM sleep. Dreams themselves often reflect this creative linking. Strange combinations, impossible scenarios, metaphorical connections. Your sleeping brain is exploring possibility space, trying out different combinations, occasionally stumbling onto something brilliant. Not all memories receive equal treatment during sleep. Your brain is selective, even while unconscious. Emotional memories, experiences that carried strong feelings, whether joy or fear or sadness or excitement. These are preferentially replayed during sleep. The emotional significance acts like a highlighter, marking certain memories as important. The amygdala, your brain's emotional center, communicates with the hippocampus and cortex during sleep, ensuring that emotionally charged experiences receive extra processing. This makes evolutionary sense. Emotionally significant events are often the ones most critical for survival and well-being. A dangerous situation, a successful strategy, a meaningful relationship, these deserve to be remembered. So your sleeping brain gives them priority, replaying them more frequently, encoding them more deeply. This selective process is sometimes described as memory tagging. During the day, as experiences unfold, your brain marks certain moments as significant while treating others as routine. Sleep then acts on these tags, strengthening the important memories while allowing trivial ones to fade. You don't need to remember every car you saw on your commute, every word in every advertisement, every mundane detail of an ordinary task. Your brain recognizes this and actively discards the trivial during sleep, making room for what matters. This is not failure. This is intelligent filtering. By forgetting the unimportant, you make it easier to access the important. Your memory becomes more efficient, more useful, more tailored to your actual needs. The evidence for sleep's role in memory is overwhelming. Study after study has shown that people who sleep after learning remember more than those who stay awake for an equivalent period. It doesn't matter what kind of learning, vocabulary words, spatial layouts, emotional stories, motor tasks, sleep consistently improves retention compared to wakefulness. The longer you stay awake after learning something new, the more vulnerable that memory becomes to interference and decay. But sleep protects it. Sleep strengthens it. Sleep transforms the initial encoding into something more permanent. This is why cramming all night before an exam is such a poor strategy. You might be able to hold information in your mind through sheer repetition and wakefulness, but without sleep, much of it will vanish within days. Sleep after learning is not optional for good memory. It's essential. And what happens when sleep is insufficient? When you don't get enough rest night after night. One of the first casualties is the hippocampus, that seahorse-shaped structure we've mentioned before, critical for forming new memories. Lack of sleep weakens the hippocampus's ability to encode fresh experiences. Studies using brain imaging have shown that sleep-deprived people show reduced hippocampal activation when trying to learn new information. It's as if the hippocampus becomes exhausted, unable to properly receive and process new memories. This is why after a sleepless night, everything feels harder to remember. Your brain isn't just tired, its memory-forming machinery is actually impaired. The deficit is real, measurable, and significant. Chronic sleep deprivation can lead to lasting changes in hippocampal structure and function, making it progressively harder to learn and remember. Researchers have discovered fascinating ways to enhance memory consolidation during sleep. One technique is called targeted memory reactivation. Here's how it works. While someone is learning a task, perhaps memorizing the locations of objects on a screen, a specific sound or scent is presented along with the learning. Then, during sleep that same night, that sound or scent is replayed quietly, subtly, while the person remains asleep. The cue triggers reactivation of the associated memories, strengthening them beyond what would happen with sleep alone. The person wakes up with better recall, better performance, without ever knowing they received this boost during the night. This shows us that sleep consolidation is not entirely automatic. It can be influenced, guided, enhanced. Your sleeping brain is listening, in a sense, responding to cues even while consciousness is absent. Even more remarkably, the mental rehearsal that happens during dreams can enhance real-world skill performance. Athletes who dream about their sports show improvement in their actual performance. Musicians who dream of practicing their instrument make fewer errors in subsequent sessions. The brain treats dreamed experiences as if they were real practice, at least to some degree. The motor cortex activates during dreams of movement. The auditory cortex responds to dreamed sounds. This internal rehearsal, this simulation running during sleep, contributes to skill learning. It's not as powerful as real practice, but it's not nothing either. Your dreams are, in part, a training ground, a safe space to rehearse skills, explore scenarios, and strengthen abilities without any physical risk. But where do all these memories ultimately reside? The hippocampus is essential for initial encoding and early consolidation, but it's not the permanent storage site. Over time, through repeated replay during sleep, memories are gradually transferred from the hippocampus to the cortex, that outer layer of the brain responsible for long-term storage. This transfer process can take weeks, months, even years for some memories. The cortex stores memories long-term in a distributed fashion, spread across multiple regions depending on the type of information. Visual memories in visual cortex, motor memories in motor cortex, and so on. Once fully transferred to cortex, memories become independent of the hippocampus. They're now part of your permanent knowledge base, your lasting self. And this transfer, this migration from temporary hippocampal storage to permanent cortical storage, happens primarily during sleep. Night after night, your brain moves memories from short-term to long-term, from fragile to stable, from new to familiar. So here we rest at the end of our 4th chapter, having explored memory's transformation during sleep. We've witnessed the sleeping brain replaying patterns from the day, with NREM strengthening facts and skills while REM links distant ideas for creative insight. We've seen how emotional memories receive preferential treatment, how sleep tags the important and discards the trivial. We've understood that sleep after learning beats wakefulness for retention, and that sleep deprivation weakens the hippocampus's encoding abilities. We've discovered targeted memory reactivation and the surprising power of mental rehearsal in dreams. And we've followed the gradual transfer of memories from hippocampus to cortex, from temporary to permanent, a migration that happens night after night as you sleep. Your memories are being woven into the fabric of your mind right now, strengthened, connected, preserved for the future. Let the consolidation continue. Let today become part of forever, and we'll journey onward together into the emotional depths of sleep. And now we arrive at one of sleep's greatest mysteries, the dream. Each night, as you surrender to rest, you enter not one dream, but many. 4 to 6 separate dreams unfold across the hours of darkness, totaling about 2 hours of dreaming time. 2 hours spent in alternate realities, in impossible scenarios, in stories that feel utterly real until you wake. You might remember one dream, perhaps 2, but most fade before morning. Yet they happen nonetheless. Each night, every night, your brain constructs these elaborate narratives while your body lies still. Individual dreams are briefer than you might imagine. Most last only 5 to 20 minutes. A dream that feels like it spans hours might occupy only 10 minutes of actual time. The subjective experience stretches, compresses, warps in ways that defy waking logic. Time becomes fluid in dreams. A lifetime can pass in moments. A simple action can take forever. Your dreaming brain doesn't track duration the way your waking mind does. It's concerned with narrative, with emotion, with the unfolding of events, not with the ticking of clocks. So when you wake from what felt like an epic journey, check the time. You might be surprised how little has passed. Dreaming happens across all stages of sleep, but it's most vivid, most bizarre, most memorable during REM sleep. Those rapid eye movement periods when your brain becomes nearly as active as waking. That's when dreams take on their full hallucinatory intensity. Colors become saturated. Emotions run strong. The impossible seems ordinary. You might fly, transform, meet people long gone, find yourself in places that never existed. REM dreams have a quality of full immersion. You're not just thinking about a scenario, you're experiencing it with something approaching sensory completeness. Vision, sound, movement, emotion, all woven together into a coherent experience, however strange. This is why REM dreams are the ones you're most likely to remember upon waking. They leave a stronger impression, but dreams do occur outside of REM as well. During NREM sleep, particularly in the lighter stages, a different kind of mental experience unfolds. NREM dreams are shorter and more thought-like, less vivid, less bizarre, more mundane. They often feel like replaying events from the day, or thinking through problems, or following familiar patterns. The distinction isn't absolute. Some NREM dreams can be quite elaborate, and some REM dreams can be fairly ordinary. But on average, NREM dreams lack the full-blown weirdness of REM. They're quieter, more reflective, closer to conscious thought than to hallucinatory experience. If you wake from NREM sleep and someone asks what you were experiencing, you might say you were thinking about work or remembering something from yesterday. Wake from REM, and you're more likely to describe something truly dreamlike. The brain activity during REM sleep is remarkable when measured. If you were to compare brain scans of someone in REM sleep to someone fully awake, you'd be hard-pressed to tell the difference in many regions. The metabolic activity, the patterns of neural firing, the communication between brain areas, all mirror wakefulness in striking ways. And yet the person is definitively asleep, unresponsive to most external stimuli, muscles paralyzed except for the eyes. This paradox, a brain that looks awake but a body that's clearly asleep, is why REM is sometimes called paradoxical sleep. Your cortex is active, processing, generating experience. Your sensory systems are engaged, though not with external input. You are, in a sense, awake inside your mind while asleep to the world. At the onset of REM, something specific happens deep in your brainstem. PGO waves begin firing. PGO stands for pons geniculate occipital, a pathway that originates in the pons of the brainstem, travels through the geniculate nucleus involved in vision, and reaches the occipital cortex where visual processing occurs. These PGO waves are thought to spark the visual and motor imagery that characterizes dreams. They're like electrical triggers, igniting activity in visual and movement areas even though your eyes are closed and your body is still. PGO waves might be responsible for some of the sudden scene changes in dreams, the jolts of new imagery, the unexpected shifts that make dream narratives feel disjointed yet continuous. Your brainstem, in a sense, is generating the raw material, the sparks that your cortex then weaves into dream content. During REM dreams, your brain also shows bursts of gamma waves, high-frequency oscillations associated with consciousness and the binding of different types of information. Gamma bursts during dreams seem to stitch together disparate elements into coherent scenes. A person, a place, an action, an emotion, all separate pieces of information that must be integrated into a unified experience. That's what gamma waves help accomplish. They coordinate activity across different brain regions, allowing your visual cortex, your memory systems, your emotional centers, and your language areas to work together. Without this coordination, dreams would be fragmentary chaos. With it, they become stories, strange stories perhaps, but stories nonetheless, with characters and settings and plots that more or less hold together. One fascinating finding is that specific brain regions active during waking maintain their specialization during dreams. The fusiform face area, for instance, a region in your temporal cortex specialized for recognizing faces, remains active during dreams and reconstructs faces from memory. The faces you see in dreams are drawn from your visual memory, from people you've encountered, features you've observed, expressions you've witnessed. Your dreaming brain doesn't invent faces from nothing. It remixes, recombines, occasionally generates composites. Sometimes you dream of people you know. Sometimes you dream of strangers. But even these strangers are constructed from facial features stored in your memory. The fusiform face area is doing during dreams what it does during waking, assembling faces, making sense of facial features, allowing you to perceive and recognize the people populating your dream world. Dreams are not completely isolated from the external world. External stimuli can sometimes penetrate into dream content, weaving themselves seamlessly into the narrative. Sounds and smells, in particular, can enter dreams without waking you. An alarm clock might become a ringing phone in your dream. The smell of coffee brewing might transform into a dream cafe. Rain on the roof might become a dream rainstorm. Your sleeping brain monitors the environment at some level, and when it detects stimuli, it often incorporates them rather than waking. This protects sleep. It's easier to adapt the dream than to interrupt rest. The incorporation usually happens so smoothly that you don't recognize it as external. The dream simply includes the sound or smell as if it belonged there all along, as if the dream generated it internally. Not everyone dreams in the same sensory modality. People who are blind, particularly those who lost their sight early in life or were born without vision, do not experience visual dreams. Yet they dream richly and vividly nonetheless. Blind individuals dream through sound, touch, and language. Their dreams are full of auditory landscapes, conversations, music, environmental sounds spatially positioned around them. They experience tactile sensations, textures, temperatures, physical interactions. They navigate space through acoustic cues and touch. Their dreams are no less immersive, no less emotional, no less bizarre than sighted people's dreams. They simply unfold in different sensory dimensions. This teaches us something profound, that dreaming is not fundamentally about vision. It's about experience, about simulation, about the brain generating a model of the world. Vision is just one way to build that model. The dreaming brain will use whatever senses it has. So here we rest at the end of our 5th chapter, having entered the dream world together. We've discovered that you experience 4 to 6 dreams per night, totaling 2 hours of dreaming, with individual dreams lasting only 5 to 20 minutes. We've explored how REM dreams are most vivid while NREM dreams are shorter and thought-like. We've seen the paradox of REM, brain activity mirroring wakefulness despite deep sleep. We've witnessed PGO waves sparking visual and motor imagery, gamma bursts stitching scenes together, and the fusiform face area reconstructing faces from memory. We've learned how sounds and smells can slip seamlessly into dreams, and how blind individuals dream richly through sound, touch, and language. Your dreaming mind is active now, perhaps constructing narratives, perhaps replaying memories, perhaps exploring possibilities that daylight would never permit. Let the dreams unfold. Let the stories play out, and we'll continue together exploring what dreams reveal about your inner world. Sleep is not just rest for the body or consolidation for memory. It is also healing for the heart. Each night, as you dream, your brain engages in profound emotional work. The feelings you carried through the day, the joys and frustrations, the anxieties and excitements, the wounds and the triumphs, all are processed during sleep. Your emotional brain becomes uniquely active at night, working through experiences in ways that wouldn't be possible while awake. This is sleep's gift to your emotional life, a safe space to feel, to process, to integrate, to heal. During REM dreams, when emotions feel most intense and vivid, a specific structure deep in your brain becomes highly active. The amygdala, this almond-shaped cluster of neurons, is your emotional center, particularly for processing fear, threat, and emotional significance. During waking hours, The amygdala responds to emotional stimuli in your environment, tagging experiences as important, triggering emotional responses. But during REM sleep, something remarkable happens. The amygdala becomes even more active than during waking, sometimes showing activity levels 20 to 30% higher. Your dreaming brain is not avoiding emotion. It's diving deeply into it, processing emotional content with an intensity that waking life rarely permits. At the same time, the amygdala heightens. Another brain region quiets down. The prefrontal cortex, that rational, logical, executive control center at the front of your brain, shows reduced activity during REM sleep. These are the regions that govern logic, that maintain social constraints, that apply the rules of reality. When the prefrontal cortex dims, dreams become possible. The impossible seems ordinary. Contradictions don't bother you. Your dead grandmother is alive again, and you don't question it. You can fly, and you simply accept it. Time and space bend in ways that would jar you awake during the day. But in dreams, with your prefrontal logic quieted, you simply go along with the narrative. This isn't a failure of your brain, it's a feature. By reducing logical constraints, your dreaming mind gains freedom to explore emotional territory without the interference of rational judgment. Another crucial change occurs in your brain's chemical environment during REM sleep. Norepinephrine, a stress-related neurotransmitter that keeps you alert and anxious during waking hours, drops to nearly zero during REM. This creates a low-stress dream state, a neurochemical environment unlike anything you experience while awake. Your amygdala is active, processing emotional content, yet the chemical signature of stress is absent. This combination is powerful. It allows emotional memories to replay safely. You can revisit difficult experiences, feel the associated emotions, process the meaning, all without the overwhelming stress response that would occur if you encountered the same content while awake. REM sleep gives you a way to work through emotional material in a protected space, where the feelings are real, but the stress chemistry is muted. Some researchers believe that dreams may act as simulations for future challenges. During dreams, you encounter scenarios, some familiar, some novel, some frightening, some rewarding. You practice responses. You navigate social situations. You confront threats. You solve problems. These dream simulations might prepare you for waking life, strengthening your ability to handle similar situations when they arise for real. An ancient function, perhaps, our ancestors dreaming of predators, of conflicts, of hunts, rehearsing responses that might save their lives. Today, we dream of modern challenges, presentations at work, difficult conversations, social anxieties. The content changes, but the function may remain. Your dreaming brain is training you, in its own strange way, for the challenges you might face. But not all dreams are neutral or positive. Nightmares, those frightening dreams that jolt you awake with your heart racing, cluster in late REM periods when emotions peak. As the night progresses, REM episodes grow longer and the emotional intensity of dreams tends to increase. By the final REM period before waking, your amygdala has been active for extended periods, emotional memories have been replayed repeatedly, and the content of dreams often becomes more charged. more vivid, more potentially disturbing. Nightmares represent, in some sense, the emotional processing system working at its limits. They occur when the content being processed is particularly difficult, or when the balance between emotional activation and safety has tipped too far toward activation. After trauma, dreams take on a specific character. Post-traumatic dreams often replay the traumatic event directly or symbolically, sometimes with disturbing repetition. This can feel like torture. Why would the brain force you to relive the worst moments over and over? But research suggests these dreams serve a purpose. They're attempting to soften the emotional impact of the trauma, to integrate the experience, to reduce its power over you. Each replay in the low-stress neurochemical environment of REM is an opportunity for the emotional charge to diminish slightly. The memory remains, but the overwhelming fear gradually lessens. This doesn't always work perfectly. Sometimes trauma is too severe, too recent, and the nightmares persist without providing relief. But in many cases, over time, the dreams do their work. The trauma becomes integrated into your life story rather than remaining a constant emotional threat. When you're deprived of REM sleep, when you don't get enough sleep, or when sleep is poor quality, something called REM rebound occurs when you finally do sleep adequately. Your brain needs REM. It needs that emotional processing time. So after deprivation, when sleep is finally possible, you'll spend more time in REM than usual, sometimes much more. The dreams during REM rebound are often especially intense, emotional, and vivid. It's as if your brain is catching up, processing the backlog of emotional material that accumulated during the nights of insufficient sleep. This intensified emotional processing after deprivation shows just how essential REM is. Your brain will prioritize it, protect it, increase it when it's been missing. Emotional processing through REM sleep is not optional. It's a fundamental need. The consequences of chronic sleep loss on emotional life are sobering. When sleep is consistently insufficient, negative emotional circuits in the brain become amplified. The amygdala becomes hyperactive even during waking hours, responding more strongly to negative stimuli. At the same time, the connections between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, the pathways that normally allow rational thought to regulate emotion, weaken. You become more emotionally reactive, less able to control your responses, more vulnerable to anxiety and depression. Small frustrations feel overwhelming. Neutral events get interpreted negatively. Your emotional resilience crumbles. Brain imaging studies have shown these changes clearly. Sleep-deprived individuals show amygdala responses up to 60% stronger to negative images compared to well-rested people. Chronic sleep loss doesn't just make you tired. It fundamentally alters your emotional brain, pushing it toward negativity and away from regulation. But there is hope, and it's beautifully simple. Quality sleep strengthens mood regulation and resilience. When you sleep well consistently, night after night, your emotional brain maintains its balance. The amygdala processes emotions appropriately without overreacting. The prefrontal cortex maintains strong connections, allowing you to regulate your feelings, to choose your responses, to maintain perspective. Stress feels more manageable. Challenges seem more surmountable. your mood stabilizes. This isn't just about feeling less tired. It's about maintaining the fundamental architecture of emotional health. Sleep is not a luxury for emotional well-being. It's the foundation. Everything else you might do to support your mental health, therapy, medication, exercise, meditation, all work better when built on a foundation of good sleep. So here we rest at the end of our 6th chapter, having explored the emotional work of sleep. We've witnessed the amygdala becoming highly active during REM while prefrontal logic quiets down. We've discovered the reduced norepinephrine that creates a low-stress dream state, allowing emotional memories to replay safely. We've considered dreams as simulations for future challenges and understood why nightmares cluster in late REM when emotions peak. We've seen how post-traumatic dreams work to soften emotional impact, how REM rebound intensifies processing after deprivation, and how chronic sleep loss amplifies negative emotional circuits. And we've recognized that quality sleep strengthens mood regulation and resilience, providing the foundation for emotional health. Your emotional brain is healing now, processing the day's feelings, softening harsh edges, integrating experiences into your ongoing story. Let the healing continue. Let the emotions flow safely through dreams, and we'll journey onward together, exploring the body's rhythms through the night. Most dreams unfold like movies where you're both the audience and the actor, watching and experiencing without quite realizing it's not real. But occasionally, rarely for some, frequently for others, something extraordinary happens. You become aware. Suddenly, within the dream itself, you recognize that you're dreaming. This moment of realization, this spark of consciousness within the unconscious state, is called lucid dreaming. And when it occurs, the nature of the dream transforms completely. Lucid dreaming involves awareness of being in a dream while the dream continues. You don't wake up. You remain asleep, your body still paralyzed, your eyes still moving rapidly beneath closed lids. But your mind, your conscious, aware mind, suddenly understands the truth. This is a dream, you think, and with that thought, possibilities expand. Some lucid dreamers simply observe with fascination, watching the dream unfold with new appreciation. Others take control, deciding where to go, what to do, who to meet. They fly because they know gravity doesn't apply here. They walk through walls because walls and dreams are only thoughts. The experience can be thrilling, liberating, and remarkably vivid, sometimes even more vivid than waking life. What happens in the brain during lucid dreaming is fascinating. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, that region of rational thought and executive control that normally quiets during REM sleep, suddenly reactivates during lucidity. It's as if a light switches back on in the front of your brain, restoring some of your waking cognitive abilities while you remain asleep. This reactivation allows you to think critically, to remember your waking goals, to make decisions. It's the return of this prefrontal activity that enables the awareness itself. You can think about thinking. You can evaluate your experience. You can recognize impossibilities and realize they indicate dreaming. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, by coming back online during REM, creates a hybrid state, part sleeping, part waking, something unique unto itself. Brain imaging studies of lucid dreamers have revealed something else remarkable. During lucid dreams, connectivity increases between prefrontal and parietal regions, between the front and back of your brain. These are networks involved in self-awareness, in distinguishing self from environment, in monitoring your own mental states. Enhanced communication between these regions during lucid dreaming allows for metacognition, thinking about thinking, awareness of awareness. You're not just experiencing the dream, you're observing yourself experiencing it. You maintain a perspective, a witness consciousness that stands slightly apart from the immersion. This increased connectivity is measurable, consistent, and distinguishes lucid REM sleep from ordinary REM sleep. With prefrontal regions reactivated, reality testing improves dramatically, allowing dream control. Reality testing, those checks you might perform while awake to confirm you're not dreaming, actually works in lucid dreams. You look at your hands and notice they might have too many fingers or appear strange. You try to read text and find it shifts and changes. You attempt to push your finger through your palm and discover it passes through. These reality tests fail in dreams, and when you're lucid, you notice the failure. This awareness then enables control. If you can recognize you're dreaming, you can often influence the dream content. Not always perfectly. The dream still has its own momentum, its own logic, but you gain agency. You become the director, not just the actor. You can practice skills, confront fears, explore fantasies, all within the safe space of a dream you know is a dream. The reason ordinary dreams feel so bizarre, and yet we accept them without question, comes down to that prefrontal deactivation we've mentioned. During normal REM sleep, when the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex is quiet, you lose your critical thinking abilities. Logical contradictions don't register. Impossibilities seem normal. Your dead friend appears alive, and you don't question it. You're suddenly in a different location, and you accept the transition. Time jumps forward or backward, and you simply go along. This acceptance of bizarre dream logic isn't stupidity. It's the natural result of having your rational evaluation centers offline. Without prefrontal activity, you have no basis for questioning the dream. You're fully immersed in the experience, taking each moment as it comes, never stepping back to evaluate whether any of it makes sense. Researchers have identified specific regions they call posterior cortical hot zones that predict dream awareness. These areas, located toward the back of the brain, show particular activity patterns associated with conscious dream experience. The more active these hot zones during REM sleep, the more likely the person is to have conscious, aware dream experiences and possibly lucid dreams. These regions seem to serve as a kind of awareness generator during sleep. When they're highly active, consciousness persists into the dream state. When they're less active, dreams happen without awareness, forgotten immediately or never consciously experienced at all. Individual differences in hot zone activity might explain why some people naturally have frequent lucid dreams while others rarely or never experience them. Interestingly, the depth of your sleep affects the likelihood of conscious dream experience. Reduced slow waves, those deep delta rhythms of stage 3 in REM sleep, increase the probability of conscious dream experience. When sleep is lighter, when those slow waves are less prominent, The brain maintains more awareness, more connectivity between regions, more of the neural activity patterns associated with waking consciousness. This is why lucid dreams most commonly occur in the early morning hours, during late REM periods when sleep has naturally lightened. It's also why sleep disruption, while generally harmful, sometimes paradoxically increases lucid dreaming frequency. The brain is closer to wakefulness, making it easier for conscious awareness to persist into the dream state. People who frequently experience lucid dreams show enhanced metacognition even during waking hours. Metacognition, the ability to monitor and reflect on your own mental processes, appears to be a stable trait that manifests both in dreams and in waking life. Frequent lucid dreamers tend to be better at recognizing when they're uncertain, at monitoring their own memory accuracy, at reflecting on their own thought processes. They're more aware of their awareness. This makes sense if you regularly practice becoming conscious within dreams. That skill at monitoring your mental states likely carries over into waking hours. Lucid dreaming might actually train metacognitive abilities, strengthening the neural networks involved in self-awareness and mental monitoring. During REM sleep, whether lucid or not, a specific brain rhythm becomes prominent. Theta waves. These rhythms, cycling at 4 to 8 times per second, are associated with memory processing and particularly with linking new and distant memories. Theta waves during REM help connect recent experiences with older memories, finding associations, building networks of related information. This theta activity supports the creative, associative thinking that characterizes dreams. It allows your brain to jump between different memories, different contexts, different time periods, weaving them together in novel combinations. Theta waves are part of why dreams feel so fluid, so capable of sudden shifts and unexpected connections. They're the rhythm of associative memory at work. Not all dreamlike experiences occur during established sleep stages. There's a liminal space, a threshold moment that happens at sleep onset. Hypnagogic imagery. As you drift from wakefulness into sleep, as alpha waves give way to the beginnings of stage 1, many people experience brief, vivid mental images. Flashes of faces, patterns, scenes. Sometimes entire dream lets that last just seconds. Voices speaking single sentences. Abstract shapes morphing and flowing. These hypnagogic experiences are neither quite dreams nor quite waking thoughts. There's something in between, arising from a unique brain state at sleep onset. Some famous artists and inventors have reported using hypnagogic imagery for inspiration, deliberately resting at the edge of sleep to capture the creative fragments that appear. Salvador Dali would hold a key as he dozed, allowing it to fall and wake him when hypnagogic imagery began. Thomas Edison used a similar technique. The threshold between waking and sleeping, that brief hypnagogic period, offers a glimpse into the mind's creative capacity. So here we rest at the end of our 7th chapter, having explored the fascinating territory of lucid dreaming and conscious awareness during sleep. We've discovered that lucid dreaming involves awareness within dreams as the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex reactivates. We've seen how connectivity increases between prefrontal and parietal regions, enabling reality testing and dream control. We've understood That normal prefrontal deactivation allows bizarre dream logic to pass unquestioned. We've learned about posterior cortical hot zones that predict dream awareness, and how reduced slow waves increase conscious dream experience. We've recognized that frequent lucid dreamers show enhanced metacognition, that theta waves link memories during REM, and that hypnagogic imagery appears at the threshold of sleep onset. Your awareness may wax and wane through the night, sometimes lost in dreams, sometimes observing them, sometimes hovering at the edge of consciousness. Let awareness come and go naturally. Let consciousness dance with unconsciousness, and we'll continue together, exploring how sleep changes across the lifespan. Sleep, when it functions properly, is seamless and restorative. But sometimes the intricate machinery of sleep malfunctions. The boundaries between states blur in unexpected ways. The systems that should activate remain silent, or those that should be quiet spring to life at the wrong moment. These disruptions can be frightening, disabling, or simply strange, revealing just how complex and delicate the architecture of normal sleep truly is. Let's explore gently what happens when sleep goes wrong. Perhaps you've experienced it yourself. Waking suddenly in the night, fully conscious, aware of your surroundings, but unable to move. Your body remains frozen, paralyzed, while your mind races with confusion and sometimes terror. This is sleep paralysis, and it occurs when REM, atonia, that muscle paralysis that normally protects you during dreams, leaks into wakefulness. During REM sleep, your brain actively suppresses muscle activity to prevent you from acting out your dreams. But sometimes the timing goes wrong. You wake up before the paralysis has released. For seconds or even minutes, you lie there, fully aware but unable to move or speak. Often this comes with hallucinations, shadowy figures, a sense of presence in the room, pressure on your chest, making it hard to breathe. Sleep paralysis is not dangerous, though it feels terrifying. The paralysis will pass, but in those moments, the boundary between sleep and wake has temporarily failed to align properly. A different disorder emerges from deep NREM sleep, particularly in the early part of the night when slow-wave sleep dominates. Night terrors. These are not nightmares, though they're often confused with them. Night terrors arise from stage 3 deep sleep, and they involve sudden, intense fear and arousal, often accompanied by screaming, thrashing, confused wandering. The person experiencing a night terror appears awake, but isn't truly conscious. They don't respond to attempts to comfort them. Their eyes might be open, but they see nothing of the real environment. And here's what's most striking. When they finally calm down and return to sleep, they usually have no memory of the episode in the morning. Night terrors occur because the brain is caught between deep sleep and wakefulness, with the fear centers of the limbic system activated while consciousness remains offline. Children experience night terrors most commonly, usually outgrowing them by adolescence. But they can persist into adulthood, leaving partners frightened and confused by the nocturnal episodes. Some sleep disorders stem from specific losses in brain architecture. Narcolepsy, a condition where people fall asleep suddenly and uncontrollably during the day, results from orexin neuron loss. Orexin, also called hypocretin, is a neurotransmitter produced by neurons in the hypothalamus. These orexin neurons help maintain wakefulness, keeping you alert and conscious during the day. But in narcolepsy, these neurons die off, often due to an autoimmune response. With orexin production severely reduced or absent, the brain loses its ability to maintain stable wakefulness. The boundaries between sleep and wake become permeable. People with narcolepsy might be in the middle of a conversation and suddenly enter REM sleep. They experience sleep intrusions throughout the day, their brains unable to firmly maintain the waking state without adequate orexin signaling. Narcolepsy often comes with another symptom, cataplexy. This is one of the most distinctive and bewildering manifestations of sleep dysfunction. Cataplexy causes sudden muscle collapse triggered by strong emotion, particularly positive emotions like laughter, surprise, or excitement. Imagine laughing at a joke, and suddenly your knees buckle, your jaw goes slack, you crumple to the ground, fully conscious but unable to move. This is REM-like muscle paralysis invading wakefulness, triggered not by sleep, but by emotional activation. The loss of orexin neurons removes a key stabilizing influence on muscle tone, making the system vulnerable to these sudden intrusions. Cataplexy episodes can last seconds to minutes. The person remains aware throughout, often embarrassed, frustrated, or frightened by their body's betrayal. It's a stark example of how sleep states can leak into waking life when the proper neural boundaries fail. Even without a diagnosed disorder, extreme fatigue can cause strange intrusions of sleep into wakefulness. Microsleeps. These are brief episodes, lasting just seconds, where awareness is hijacked despite your eyes being open and your body upright. You might be driving, reading, listening to someone speak, and suddenly a few seconds vanish. You blink back to awareness with no memory of the gap. Microsleeps are the brain desperately trying to get the sleep it needs, grabbing moments wherever possible. They're dangerous, of course, most famously in driving, where even 2 or 3 seconds of microsleep can cause a fatal accident. But they're also revealing. They show that sleep isn't always a binary state. Sometimes sleep and wake coexist, alternating rapidly, creating these brief windows where consciousness simply disappears. Then there are the parasomnias, unusual behaviors arising from sleep. Sleepwalking is perhaps the most well-known. During NREM sleep, particularly in the deeper stages, some people rise from bed and begin moving, performing complex actions, sometimes even leaving the house, all while remaining asleep. Sleepwalking bypasses frontal inhibition during NREM. The motor systems activate, capable of coordinated movement, but the frontal lobes that would normally prevent inappropriate behavior, that would apply judgment and planning, remain in a sleep state. The sleepwalker navigates their environment with eyes open, but unseeing in any conscious sense. They might perform routine tasks, getting a drink, opening doors, even driving in extreme cases. But they're not truly awake. When they return to bed or are guided back, they typically have no memory of the episode. The motor programs run without conscious supervision, a strange dissociation between movement and awareness. Some sleep disorders cause lasting damage to the brain itself. Sleep apnea, where breathing repeatedly stops during sleep, sometimes hundreds of times per night, shrinks gray matter through oxygen deprivation. Each time breathing ceases, oxygen levels in the blood drop. The brain, so dependent on continuous oxygen supply, suffers. Over months and years of untreated sleep apnea, brain imaging shows measurable gray matter loss, particularly in regions responsible for memory, emotion regulation, and executive function. The hippocampus shrinks. The frontal lobes thin. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's actual structural damage to brain tissue. The good news is that treatment with CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure, can halt this damage and sometimes even reverse some of it. But untreated sleep apnea is a serious threat to brain health. Sleep disorders can also arise from disruptions to circadian timing rather than sleep architecture itself. Circadian misalignment. When your internal clock is out of sync with the external environment or your required schedule, disrupts dopamine and serotonin systems. These neurotransmitters are crucial for mood, motivation, and emotional regulation. When you're forced to be awake when your body believes it should be asleep, or asleep when your body expects wakefulness, the production and regulation of these neurotransmitters becomes chaotic. Dopamine, which drives motivation and reward, loses its proper rhythmic pattern. Serotonin, which stabilizes mood and supports well-being, fails to cycle appropriately. The result is increased risk of depression, anxiety, and emotional instability, not from lack of sleep per se, but from the misalignment between internal and external time. Shift work represents one of the most common forms of circadian disruption in modern society. People working night shifts or rotating shifts force their brains to operate against their natural circadian preferences. The consequences are measurable and significant. Shift work increases brain fog, that sense of mental cloudiness, difficulty concentrating, slowed thinking. It increases irritability. Emotional responses become exaggerated. Patience wears thin more quickly. Memory suffers. Decision-making becomes impaired. These aren't character flaws or lack of willpower. They're the direct result of forcing the brain to function when its circadian signals are telling it to sleep. Some people adapt better than others, but for many, shift work represents a chronic assault on brain function that accumulates over time. Sometimes sleep disturbances can even predict other neurological problems. People with epilepsy often report changes in their dreams before seizures occur. Epileptic dream changes may predict seizures hours or even days in advance. Dreams might become more intense, more bizarre, more fragmented. Sleep architecture itself often shows changes before seizures. Alterations in REM timing, disruptions in sleep stage transitions, unusual electrical patterns. The sleeping brain, in a sense, signals the approaching storm. Some researchers are exploring whether monitoring sleep and dreams might provide early warning systems for seizures, allowing preventive interventions. It's another reminder that sleep is not separate from brain health. It's intimately connected, constantly reflecting and influencing the brain's overall state. So here we rest at the end of our 8th chapter, having explored what happens when sleep's intricate machinery malfunctions. We've encountered sleep paralysis as REM, atonia, leaks into wakefulness, and night terrors arising from deep NREM early in the night. We've learned that narcolepsy results from orexin neuron loss, and cataplexy causes muscle collapse triggered by emotion. We've witnessed micro-sleeps hijacking awareness during extreme fatigue and sleepwalking bypassing frontal inhibition during NREM. We've seen how sleep apnea shrinks gray matter through oxygen deprivation, how circadian misalignment disrupts dopamine and serotonin, how shift work increases brain fog and irritability, and how epileptic dream changes may predict seizures. Sleep can go wrong in many ways, but understanding these malfunctions helps us appreciate just how remarkable normal sleep truly is. Let your own sleep continue its healthy work. Let the systems function as they should, and we'll journey onward together through the final chapters of the night. Sleep is not only for maintenance and memory, it is also for creation. Each night, as you dream, your brain becomes an artist, a storyteller, an inventor. The same neural processes that clean and consolidate also innovate and imagine. Sleep unlocks creativity in ways that waking thought cannot match, connecting distant ideas, breaking conventional patterns, revealing solutions that eluded you during the day. And the dreams you experience are not simply private. They're shaped by culture, language, and the social world you inhabit. Sleep, in this sense, is where individual mind meets collective imagination. REM sleep, in particular, supports creative problem-solving in remarkable ways. Studies have shown that people who sleep after working on a difficult problem are more likely to find innovative solutions than those who stay awake for an equivalent time. But not just any sleep, specifically REM sleep. When researchers wake people from REM and present them with creative tasks, they perform significantly better than when awakened from NREM. Something about the unique brain state of REM, with its associative freedom, its reduced logical constraints, its tendency to link distant memories, creates ideal conditions for creative insight. Your dreaming brain makes connections that your waking mind would dismiss as irrelevant or impossible. Sometimes those impossible connections turn out to be exactly what you needed. Artists throughout history have recognized this creative potential of sleep and dreams. Salvador Dali, the surrealist painter, famously exploited hypnagogic imagery, those fleeting visions that appear at the threshold of sleep. Dali would sit in a chair, holding a key positioned over a metal plate. As he began to drift towards sleep, hypnagogic images would arise, strange faces, melting forms, impossible architectures. The moment he fell truly asleep, the key would slip from his hand, clang against the plate, and jolt him awake. But he'd captured the images, those brief visions from the edge of consciousness, and would immediately sketch them. Many of his most famous paintings emerged from this technique, harvesting the creativity that blooms in that liminal space between waking and sleep. He wasn't alone. Thomas Edison, inventor of countless technologies, used similar methods, believing the hypnagogic state offered unique insight. The creative benefits of sleep extend beyond the sleep period itself. Post-sleep creativity spikes through a phenomenon called theta-gamma coupling. After waking from sleep, particularly from REM-rich sleep in the morning, your brain shows enhanced coordination between theta waves and gamma waves. Theta rhythms, we've discussed, are involved in memory retrieval and association. Gamma rhythms support conscious integration and binding. When these two frequencies couple, when they synchronize and work together, creative thinking flourishes. Ideas flow more easily. Connections appear more readily. Problems that seemed insurmountable tonight before suddenly have obvious solutions. This is why people say sleep on it. Not just because time helps, but because sleep actively reorganizes your thinking, priming your brain for creative insight upon waking. Dreams themselves have a quality unlike any waking thought. They defy physics, ignore causality, leap across impossible spaces. This happens because spatial processing shuts down during REM sleep. The parietal regions that normally maintain your sense of spatial continuity, that create coherent three-dimensional models of the environment, reduce their activity during dreams. Without this spatial framework, anything becomes possible. You could be in one place and then instantly in another without traveling the distance between. Rooms can be impossibly large or small. Buildings can contain more space inside than outside. Gravity becomes optional. Time moves in strange ways. These impossibilities don't indicate broken dreaming. They reveal what happens when the brain generates experience without the usual spatial constraints. Your dreaming mind is freed from physical law, able to explore conceptual and emotional territories without the limitations of three-dimensional space. Yet dreams are not purely individual creations untouched by the outside world. Cultural beliefs shape dream narratives in profound ways. People in different cultures dream about different things, interpret dream symbols differently, assign different meanings to dream experiences. In some cultures, dreams are seen as messages from ancestors or spirits. In others, they're viewed as psychological processing or random neural noise. These cultural frameworks influence not just how dreams are interpreted after waking, but actually shape the content and structure of the dreams themselves. If you grow up believing dreams connect you to the spirit world, your dreams are more likely to include spiritual elements. If you're taught dreams reflect unconscious desires, your dreams will tend toward that pattern. Culture lives inside your mind, and it shapes even your most private nocturnal experiences. Language, too, weaves through dreams in fascinating ways. Bilingual dreamers, people fluent in multiple languages, switch languages fluidly during dreams, often more freely than they do while awake. In dreams, you might speak to one person in English, turn to another and speak Spanish, switch to French mid-sentence, all without effort or conscious choice. The language centers of your brain, freed from the social and cognitive constraints of waking conversation, simply access whatever linguistic tools seem appropriate in the dream context. Some bilingual people report that which language appears in their dreams reflects emotional associations. Speaking their mother tongue to family members, their adopted language in work contexts. Others find the language choices completely unpredictable, shifting for no apparent reason. Dreams reveal language as a fluid, flexible tool rather than a rigid system. There's even evidence that dreams show subtle social influence, what researchers call collective dreaming. People who spend significant time together, family members, close friends, colleagues, sometimes report overlapping dream themes or imagery during the same night. Not identical dreams, but strange parallels, dreaming about similar settings, encountering similar emotional tones, dealing with related themes. This might reflect shared experiences being processed simultaneously or subtle cues picked up during waking hours that influence both dreamers' sleep. Some researchers suggest that social bonds create what amount to linked processing networks, where closely connected brains tend towards similar patterns of consolidation and emotional processing. Collective dreaming isn't telepathy. It's the natural result of shared lives creating partially shared mental landscapes. Sleep also appears to sharpen intuition through processing in a specific brain region, the anterior insula. This structure, located deep within the folds of the cortex, processes bodily sensations and integrates them with emotional and cognitive information. It's crucial for what we call gut feelings, those intuitions that arise without conscious reasoning. During sleep, particularly REM sleep, the anterior insula shows enhanced processing, helping integrate emotional information with stored knowledge. When you wake with a strong intuitive sense about a decision, even though you can't explain why, it's often because your sleeping anterior insula has been quietly working through the problem, weighing factors below conscious awareness. Sleep doesn't just consolidate explicit memories. It also refines implicit, intuitive knowledge. The sensory content of dreams has changed over historical time in interesting ways. In the early 20th century, when researchers first began systematically studying dream reports, many people described dreaming in black and white. But in modern dream reports, particularly in the last few decades, colored dreams dominate overwhelmingly. Most people today report dreaming in full, vivid color. Why the change? Some researchers suggest it reflects media exposure. Early in the 20th century, most media, photographs, films, television, was black and white. Perhaps dreams reflected this visual environment. As color media became universal, dreams shifted toward color as well. This suggests that dreams don't have some inherent color property. They reflect the visual world you experience while awake. Your brain generates dream imagery using the same visual systems that process waking sight, and those systems are shaped by your visual environment. Finally, there's an interesting asymmetry in how your brain handles dream memory. The right hemisphere, the right side of your brain, favors emotional dream recall. When researchers study patients with damage to specific brain regions, they find that right hemisphere damage often impairs dream recall, particularly for emotional dreams. The right hemisphere is more involved in emotional processing, in holistic understanding, in narrative construction. Dreams, being so heavily emotional and narrative, rely more on right hemisphere function than left. This is why some strokes or injuries that affect the right hemisphere can drastically reduce dream recall or even eliminate the experience of dreaming entirely, while similar damage to the left hemisphere leaves dreaming intact. The right brain dreams, or at least, the right brain remembers and reports the dreams. So here we rest at the end of our 9th chapter, having explored creativity, culture, and the social dimensions of sleep. We've seen how REM sleep supports creative problem solving and how artists like Dali exploited hypnagogic imagery. We've discovered post-sleep creativity spikes through theta-gamma coupling and understood why dreams defy physics due to spatial processing shutdown. We've recognized how cultural beliefs shape dream narratives, how bilingual dreamers switch languages fluidly, and how collective dreaming shows subtle social influence. We've learned that intuition sharpens through anterior insula processing, that color dreams dominate modern reports, and that the right hemisphere favors emotional dream recall. Your dreaming brain is creating, connecting, imagining, influenced by culture and language, shaped by your social world, generating insights that will serve you when you wake. Let the creativity flow. Let the connections form, and we'll complete our journey together through the final chapter of sleep's wonders. And so we arrive at our final chapter, a reflection on sleep across the entire arc of life. From the first moments after birth to the final years of old age, sleep remains your constant companion, your nightly guardian, your silent architect. The brain you have today was shaped by decades of sleep. The brain you'll have tomorrow will be shaped by the sleep you're experiencing right now. Sleep is not separate from who you are. It is fundamentally part of the process of becoming and remaining yourself. Consider a newborn baby, just hours old, sleeping in gentle cycles throughout day and night. That infant spends an extraordinary amount of time in REM sleep, up to 8 hours per day, sometimes more. REM dominates early life to wire developing brains. The rapid eye movements, the intense neural activity, the flood of internal stimulation, all of this serves a crucial developmental purpose. The newborn's brain is forming trillions of connections, establishing basic circuits for vision, movement, emotion, and cognition. REM sleep provides the activity patterns needed for this wiring process. Neurons that fire together wire together, as the saying goes, and REM sleep creates the firing patterns that help the developing brain organize itself. Without adequate REM in early life, brain development suffers measurably. REM in infancy isn't just rest. It's active construction of the neural architecture that will support a lifetime of thinking and feeling. But as the brain matures, as those initial circuits become established and refined, something changes. REM sleep decreases as brains mature. A newborn might spend 50% of sleep time in REM, a toddler perhaps 35%. By adolescence, it's dropped to around 25%, where it remains through most of adulthood. This reduction reflects decreasing need for the intensive neural development that REM supports. The adult brain still needs REM for memory consolidation, emotional processing, creativity, but not with the same intensity required during the rapid growth of early life. This gradual decline in REM across development is normal, healthy, and reflects the shift from building a brain to maintaining and refining one. This pattern extends beyond humans to the entire mammalian world. Across mammals, REM duration scales inversely with brain size at birth. Species born with relatively mature, large brains, like dolphins or guinea pigs, need less REM sleep. Species born with tiny, immature brains, like rats or cats, spend enormous proportions of early life in REM. Humans fall in the middle, born with brains that are large but still quite immature, requiring years of development. Our REM needs reflect this. High initially, gradually declining as the brain approaches full maturity. This cross-species pattern reveals something profound. REM sleep is fundamentally linked to brain development, not just in humans, but across the entire mammalian lineage. It's an ancient function, preserved over millions of years of evolution. Deep within your brain lies a small, mysterious structure that may orchestrate much of what we've discussed. The colostrum, this thin sheet of neurons tucked beneath the cortex, connects to nearly every region of your brain. For years, neuroscientists puzzled over its function. Recent research suggests the colostrum may coordinate sleep state transitions, helping orchestrate the shift from waking to NREM to REM and back again. It might act as a conductor, ensuring that different brain regions change states in synchrony, that the complex choreography of sleep stages unfolds smoothly. The colostrum remains one of the least understood structures in the brain, but its role in sleep is becoming clearer. This tiny region, barely noticeable in brain scans, may be essential for the nightly journey through consciousness and unconsciousness. Throughout life, the effects of sleep extend far beyond the hours spent in bed. Consistent sleep stabilizes serotonin and mood circuits. When you sleep regularly, going to bed and waking at similar times, getting adequate duration night after night, your brain's neurochemistry finds its rhythm. Serotonin production follows a reliable pattern. Mood circuits maintain their balance. You're more emotionally stable, more resilient to stress, more capable of experiencing positive emotions. But when sleep becomes irregular or insufficient, these systems destabilize. Serotonin levels fluctuate unpredictably. Mood circuits lose their equilibrium. The result is emotional volatility, increased vulnerability to depression and anxiety, difficulty experiencing pleasure. Consistent sleep isn't a luxury. It's the foundation of emotional health across the lifespan. Even brief sleep can provide significant benefits. Short naps, perhaps 20 to 30 minutes, restore alertness without grogginess. These naps, if taken at the right time of day, usually early afternoon when a natural dip in alertness occurs, can refresh your brain remarkably. You don't enter deep sleep during a short nap, which means you can wake relatively easily without the disorientation that comes from being pulled out of slow-wave sleep. Instead, you spend time in lighter stages of NREM, enough to reduce adenosine pressure, consolidate some memories, and restore cognitive function. Many cultures have embraced this wisdom. The siesta tradition recognizes our natural tendency toward biphasic sleep. Short naps aren't signs of laziness. They're tools for optimizing brain function across the day. The consequences of sleep deprivation extend into the motivational and behavioral systems of your brain. Sleep deprivation alters reward pathways and impulse control in measurable ways. When you're sleep deprived, the reward centers of your brain, particularly the nucleus accumbens and ventral striatum, become hypersensitive to immediate rewards. Food seems more appealing, especially high-calorie foods. Impulsive purchases become harder to resist. Short-term pleasures override long-term planning. At the same time, the prefrontal regions that normally inhibit impulses and maintain self-control weaken their influence. The combination is problematic. Heightened desire for immediate gratification combined with reduced ability to resist. This is why sleep deprivation leads to poor dietary choices, increased risk-taking, difficulty maintaining healthy habits. It's not weakness, it's altered brain chemistry, shifting decision-making toward the immediate and away from the considered. But there's encouraging news about long-term sleep quality. Research has shown that people who maintain good sleep habits over years and decades show measurable brain benefits. Long-term sleep quality thickens the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. This region, located at the front and bottom of the frontal lobes, is crucial for decision-making, emotional regulation, and integrating emotional information with rational thought. Thicker cortex in this region is associated with better emotional control, more effective decision-making, greater resilience to stress. The thickening isn't dramatic. We're talking about fractions of a millimeter, but it's measurable and meaningful. Your brain physically changes in response to years of good sleep, strengthening the very structures that support healthy living. Sleep isn't just preventing damage, it's actively building capacity. And every single night, whether you realize it or not, your brain engages in a form of preparation for waking life. Every night, the brain simulates threat scenarios to build resilience. Dreams often involve challenges, conflicts, dangers, even when they don't rise to the level of nightmares. You might dream of being lost, of failing an exam, of social embarrassment, of being chased, of confronting difficulties. These simulations aren't random torture. They're practice. Your brain is running through scenarios that might occur in waking life, rehearsing responses, building familiarity with stressful situations. When you encounter similar challenges while awake, you're slightly better prepared, slightly more resilient, because you've faced something like it in dreams. This is an ancient function. Our ancestors dreamed of predators and practiced escape. We dream of modern threats and practice coping. The content changes, but the function remains. Sleep builds resilience for waking life. And here, at the end of our journey through 100 facts about the sleeping brain, we arrive at perhaps the most important understanding of all. Sleep quietly reshapes who we are emotionally, cognitively, and creatively. Every night, as you sleep, you're not static. You're being transformed. Memories are being strengthened or pruned. Emotional experiences are being processed and integrated. Creative connections are being forged. Toxic wastes are being cleared. Neural circuits are being optimized. Your brain is being maintained, repaired, and refined. When you wake tomorrow, you will not be quite the same person who fell asleep tonight. The changes are subtle, incremental, mostly invisible, but they accumulate. Over weeks, months, years, decades, sleep shapes the trajectory of your mind. The brain you have today is the product of tens of thousands of nights of sleep. Every memory you cherish was consolidated during sleep. Every skill you've mastered was refined during sleep. Your emotional resilience was built during sleep. Your creativity was unlocked during sleep. Your very sense of self, the continuity of your identity across time, depends on sleep knitting each day's experiences into the ongoing story of your life. Without sleep, you would fragment. With sleep, you remain whole, coherent, continuously yourself despite constant change. And so we understand, sleep is not time lost, is not absence, is not nothing. Sleep is active, essential, transformative. It is when your brain does some of its most important work. It is when maintenance happens, when consolidation occurs, when emotional healing takes place, when creativity flourishes, when resilience builds. Sleep is not separate from living. It is part of what makes life possible. Every moment of consciousness tomorrow depends on the quality of unconsciousness tonight. Your brain has journeyed through these 100 facts while simultaneously journeying through its own nightly cycles. Perhaps you've moved through NREM and into REM multiple times while listening. Perhaps your glymphatic system has been clearing waste while these words washed over you. Perhaps memories from today have been replayed and consolidated. Perhaps your emotional brain has been processing, healing, preparing you for tomorrow. All of this happens naturally, automatically, requiring nothing from you except the willingness to rest. So here we conclude our final chapter, having explored sleep across the lifespan. We've seen how REM dominates early life to wire developing brains, then decreases as brains mature. We've learned that REM duration scales inversely with brain size across mammals, and that the colostrum may coordinate sleep state transitions. We've understood how consistent sleep stabilizes serotonin and mood circuits, how short naps restore alertness, and how sleep deprivation alters reward pathways and impulse control. We've discovered that long-term sleep quality thickens the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, that every night the brain simulates threats to build resilience, and that sleep quietly reshapes who we are emotionally, cognitively, and creatively. The night is not empty. The night is full of work, full of transformation, full of the quiet processes that make you who you are. Rest now. Let sleep continue its ancient work. Let your brain tend to itself in all the ways we've explored together. And when morning comes, you'll wake renewed, restored, ready to live another day, knowing that tonight, sleep will be waiting to do it all again.